2 days ago was the cap for last week, and to end off, it went beautifully fine. I do have to note that this was 2 days ago, and I'm editing this kind of late instead of on the same day because I had to add in a few other events I'd like to talk about later on. So 2 days ago, I'd entered the place I'd always enter in the morning for a friend group, and I noticed one of the girls were alone. So I ended up going up to her, and she was about a few feet away from the friend group bench that we usually sit at. It's like right near one of the class doors, and I asked her what's going on, and I was told that she told me that she was sick apparently, and that she told me to go to the other group because they're funner. And I was kind of caught up to a mini dilemma. She said she was sick. She said he didn't want any help. But when someone says that they're sick and that they don't want help, they might want us to psychologically react the opposite and try to help them. Or maybe take it literally and go back to the local friend group. When I decide that since I'm not full friends with the girl, I'll just leave it to her other local friends to deal with it. And I just decided to throw the water bottle away that I was holding with me, and I headed down to the local group and asked them if that why is she sitting in the back. And a few minutes later, another friend said to me that she might have been confused and that she might have thought that we were sitting where she was sitting at, as there was another group nearby that did take over a bench where part of our friend groups sat at. And two things I do retroactively sense is that she might have been confused. One of the locals took the benches that we sat in, and her friend sat on the next bench. So she might have misinterpreted that as us not wanting to be near her, or maybe she's going through something and that situation just confused her even more. Either way, it did go well after. I did ask one of her friends to see what's going on. One of them ended up going to her, and then both of them ended up coming back. I did go well. Eventually, we sat back at our seats where we were sitting at, and I did offer to change seats since I was sitting in her spot where she usually sit at, but she let me stay. I'm not gonna make this a duck hunt of what reasons why, because that's going to take too much time. So we'll just leave it as it is. And what I did realize is that as more and more people joined in the friend group, as it reaffirms my theory, well, social plate tectonics. People move around as more people join. And I knew that I should have talked to more people than I'd say, but it went smooth. The conversations were mixed. Some homework, some joining in, some just talking about the day. So I should have joined in the conversation, but I guess I just didn't. I was a little bit shy, so I might try to do it next time. A side event that did happen is that those same boys that were in the other bench nearby, they ended up playing ball with each other, and one of them ended up hitting each other with a ball in the groin area. So I did hear a loud scream as it happened. They do play tough sometimes. I remember credits to Pat, Emily, and one more name that don't even remember. First period. This time it went mostly fine, and my teacher assigned me to number two of the daily diary entry in Spanish, but he forgot that he'd assign me and made me answer number one instead. Then I answered number two, even though my teacher didn't even realize that after. Nothing too much happened after. The teacher did say no video games, and I did complete a Preterite verb worksheet, though I do prefer to use Javier and past participle ending because it is so much easier than having to memorize Preterite. And yes, we did use a computer for this, so the teacher did say for us not to use video games or not to play on the computer like last reels before. Second period, it was dazzling hot outside, almost like summer temperature, so I did wear sunscreen and sunscreen lip balm to protect myself, and the teacher did give us free time. The bad thing is that those same two girls that kept begging for shoutouts, uh, they kept coming after me as I did one of the laps for my teacher, and I transitioned after that because we only had to do one running lap. I transitioned after that straight into casual volleyball with other three random people that I can't remember. Credit to Isaiah and one other girl, and boy, volleyball game went fun. No secret lore, but I did love the game even though it was really hot outside in the sun. Other than that, no drama, nothing. So this was a good period. Now, third period. This time we ended up moving seats as it was our next unit of science, and we completed a quick follow-up assignment related to our Socratic seminar worksheet that was mentioned before, and it went smooth. Credit to one of my former Socratic seminar partners, Rachel. So credits if you're watching this later on. I did ask if the teacher has any 6-7 jokes, but fortunately and unfortunately, he said no. Fourth period, this is where it gets really interesting, to be honest. I was not allowed to watch a certain R-rated movie for history class because I signed an agreement paper for us to watch a movie. I put no, and for social studies this time, oddly enough, the teacher sent me to the library to study on my history stuff. So what I did though is that what makes this interesting is that since I was sent to the library, those few minutes in the library intersected with a few minutes of first lunch. And you know, guys, I've never been in first lunch before. So what I did do in these few minutes that temporarily intersected with first lunch, and because the library is a direct connection to first lunch during this time, and this is fourth period right before my lunch. Since I was done with most of my assignments, I just used this time to study. I decided to set up two new interactions with two new random people in an open table in the library. It was like a large girls' friend group. There was a few boys nearby, and then I said hi to them and explained my situation to them as I found it interesting. And obviously, yes, there were a few other boys and girls I did end up visiting real quick. And big credits if you guys are watching this. I don't remember any of your guys' names, but you guys might remember me. I know I'm explaining this calmly, but in the grand scheme of things, very rarely do any of us get to experience second lunch within first lunch, or maybe first lunch within second lunch in the same year. So for those few minutes, I was able to work and study, but then at the same time also make new friends. Since this is only temporary, as the movie will span for a few days for the teacher and then end, I want to take this chance because I've never been in first lunch. I mean, I can use this chance right now to make new friends, talk to new people while also working on what I have to do within a history or social studies class. And to add a historian's twist, since we'll be making more friends and talking to new random people, we're going to be calling this Operation First Lunch. And if anyone does have first lunch, maybe if you have connections to me, maybe you want to talk to me, DM me because I don't know the days where we're going to have the movie. But other than that, something can happen, and it is random dice to see whoever's going to be in the library, maybe who's willing to talk to me as a result. But after that, I did turn in the rest of my assignments, and at the end of the period, And 5 minutes before, I did head back to my fourth period class, and then I turned in all my important work that I did during the library period. And I believe I did see one of my old friends. Well, I wouldn't call them old friends, but I've seen a few people that I've talked to during the times before while I was in a six girl friend group before. I believe there was a bunch of like there was one girl and then one also random boy that did talk to me. I saw both of those people there during the library too, so I don't think I'm gonna give shout outs, but I definitely noticed them as I was moving nearby. But after that, after those 5 minutes came back and I head back to fourth period, I did my stuff and headed down to second lunch, which is my primary lunch period. For lunch period, this went mostly fine. All the baseline stuff, and of course, I was craving pasta and meatballs since I didn't set myself up for a good protein meal breakfast. The heat was unbearable, though, even though we were in the cafeteria. The daily conversation went mostly well. Credit to Layla and Noelia, and thanks for letting me view your graphing paper about absences and a homework assignment that was about it. We did have a conversation about a lot of things, but I honestly don't remember since this was a little few days ago. Now, fifth period, 13 cents again to the teacher that there will be late students, but this time there's only one late student, and the ones that did come late came right before the bell. So during the reading of Lord and the Flies, I learned how Ralph and the group were attacked by Jack, and how Piggy and Ralph do Simon's unaliving in different ways, but still want to get rescued. And of course, the teacher did call out the boys, and I told them to stop, but she told them to stop stomping on the floor, and she told them to shush because they acted like crazies. At this point, she's acting more like a mom more than a teacher in terms of discipline, and it was kind of funny. The bonus credit goes to Serenity because you came into class saying that if you went to next period, that you'd be late for it then because I believe you were attending something. And if you tried to head down to your class on the other side, it would take too long. So I had a great conversation with you, and it went mostly smooth. So credits to you, Serenity. You might not notice this in a long time from now. Going down to sixth period. For math class, it went great, and we did a review about quadratic formula. A review mixed from imaginary solutions to irrational solutions, and I was able to finish up both of those worksheets. I heard that the teacher didn't post the assignment yesterday. Well, 3 days ago. She allowed us to turn it in today. The problem is that during this time, the two boys in my class just kept like acting crazy toward each other. Like there's no cuss stuff, but they kept playing tough with each other, even as I tried to do something or tell them to stop. They even snatched something from me, even as I did call them out on a few things. Apparently, one of them told me that I act special sometimes, but you said we're still good as friends. But you guys keep on like cussing each other, keep like doing some weird things for each other. So like chill for real. Like I don't get why. Like I don't know if it's something with boys dynamics. I don't know though. Other than that, today was a great day as it did go peaceful. After the personal lesson that I did learn this week is that I should talk to more people even when there's a large conversation because as much as I am adaptive, as small groups, I have to also have to adapt to big groups and I have to also learn to do that and hold conversations. So I'll keep going on with that. For the bonus events, later on with my father, I went to go fish and with him near Redondo Pier for late night fishing, and it went mostly fine. Some highlights I do want to notice that there was a Spanish speaker, and I decided to talk to him about how he understood Spanish. According to them, they use part-right endings more than haber plus past participle, and would totally understand if I used it anyway. And they would sway toward more English in terms of nouns. Like instead of saying, "Do you want mussels?" they would say, "Quieres los mussels?" As for the fish catching, my dad caught a flounder fish. I ended up catching a baby scorpion. The problem here is that these fish don't contain too much meat, so we kept the flounder fish, but we let the baby scorpion fish go, even though it was very risky because I saw my dad literally touching the baby scorpion fish. It was risky, but luckily my dad was able to remove like the fishing line out of that fish, and then we let it go, even though it was probably not living anymore. But I did not want to get poisoned. For most of the night, we didn't really catch anything, and even though people nearby caught some crabs, they didn't really catch any fish. I did observe a local family nearby. Did appear to have like a rockfish and another whitefish nearby with them, but I wondered why they just left it on the floor instead of putting it on ice or anything like that. So that's something that I'm wondering about. Other than that, it was mostly tiring because, like my teacher said, for science, there is land breeze and it was pretty cold. And sea breeze too that was present. So if a boat was there, it would move a certain direction. At the end of the fishing expedition, I was offered the fish that my other relatives caught instead, and I almost took like half of theirs. So after that, we left around like 2 a.m. in the morning, and I don't think I froze the fish that I was offered properly, which was mackerel. I ended up putting it in like a Ziploc bag with cold water that would then freeze. Since I didn't have time to gut it, I'm probably gonna eat it soon. I'll probably get it done because it's gonna get mushy. I don't think I froze it properly, to be honest. Credit to my family relatives for the fishing expedition, though it was pretty tiring. Came home right at 4 a.m. then and I slept for like 2 hours, which I was surprised because I did not know how I somehow woke up like 3 hours later at 7 a.m. Then again, I went to the beach with my mom just to take a run and probably exercise a little bit. Sadly, though, I didn't really meet anyone, and the volleyball club kept most of the volleyball courts they kept toward their club only, and one of the volleyball courts I did want to go to was unfortunately taken by them. So instead of that, I just decided to practice some badminton by myself, and I practiced basic volleyball throws. And right after that, I went right to sleep after the run at like 12 p.m. because I stayed up so late. The next morning, after a complimentary 16-hour sleep cycle, I then went to church. But my mom, on the other hand, right as the mass was beginning, her app began to play some sort of song by 21 Savage. It was Rockstar, I believe, and it was kind of funny to be honest. Like I think the biggest problem is that my mom, she's kind of like an oldie, so her phone case makes it a little bit difficult to turn on or turn off the volume. And because of its material, I'm more embarrassed at the fact that my mom doesn't know how to change her own settings on her phone. So no wonder it took her so long just to turn it off, even though everyone in the situation would be in a scramble. But eventually, once she accidentally turned her phone off, I just pressed like the pause button right in the home screen of the phone.